When you picture a genius, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it someone who has all the answers, who's always the first to speak, and just radiates this unshakable confidence? Well, we're about to dive into a completely different idea, one that suggests the real architecture of high intelligence is actually much quieter. It's something built not on a big performance, but on a hidden internal process. And that brings us to this big question. It really challenges a lot of what we think we know. Our culture tends to reward speed and certainty, right? But the evidence suggests that real intelligence, it just operates on a totally different frequency. It's way less about having the right answer right now, and so much more about having the right process to find the best answer. And yeah, sometimes that process takes a little more time. Okay, so this slide really just flips the whole script on that traditional idea of genius. The myth on the left, it's all about looking smart, right? External validation. But the reality, that's an inside job. It's not about being the first one to talk. It's about being the first to truly listen. It's not about having this rock-solid confidence, but instead having the intellectual humility to question everything, especially your own assumptions.
So if intelligence isn't just about performance, then what's it really about? What's the engine driving this quieter, more powerful way of thinking? Well, it all comes down to one central concept, and it's kind of like a secret weapon for your mind. It's called metacognition.
Now, I know it sounds super simple, but this is a really profound idea. Metacognition is basically the ability to step outside of your own mind and just observe it. It's like you become the manager of your own brain. You're constantly checking in on your thoughts, making sure they're working effectively, and not getting tangled up in biases or just going down unproductive rabbit holes. And this right here is why it is so incredibly powerful. See, it's not some fixed trait you're born with. It's a skill. It's something you can actually develop. By practicing metacognition, you can consciously pick better ways to think, you can catch your own mistakes before they turn into bad decisions, and you can literally upgrade the way you learn and solve problems. Okay, so how does this kind of abstract idea, thinking about thinking, actually show up in the real world? Well, it reveals itself as a set of very specific and often very quiet habits. And these are the practices that really separate the good thinkers from the truly great ones. So for this explainer, we're going to zero in on 3 of the most crucial silent habits. These all stem from strong metacognitive skills, and they're habits that literally anyone can start working on today. All right, first up, highly intelligent people, they're their own toughest critics. So instead of looking for evidence that just confirms what they already believe, which is what most of us do, they actively poke holes in their own thinking. They're constantly asking themselves things like, how do I actually know this is true? Where are my blind spots here? What if I'm just completely wrong about this? The brilliant physicist Richard Feynman absolutely nailed this. He knew that our own ego and our biases are the biggest roadblocks to thinking clearly. This whole habit of questioning yourself, it's not a sign of weakness at all. It's the ultimate form of intellectual honesty. And honestly, it's the fastest way to get closer to the truth. The second habit is all about mental discipline. It's resisting that urge to have an immediate opinion. We live in a world that demands instant hot takes on absolutely everything, right? But really intelligent people are totally comfortable saying, you know what, I don't know enough about that to have an opinion yet. And just to be clear, this isn't about being indecisive. It's a deliberate strategy. They get that the quality of your decision depends entirely on the quality of your information. So by waiting, by delaying their judgment, they give themselves the space to gather more data, to see the problem from different angles, and to ultimately form a much more solid and thoughtful conclusion. Now, this third habit, it might be the most counterintuitive, and for a lot of us, it's the hardest one to actually do. Instead of building an echo chamber of people who agree with them, highly intelligent people go out and actively look for people who disagree with them. They seek out dissent on purpose. Now, this isn't about looking for a fight or being argumentative. It's about stress testing their own ideas in the most effective way you possibly can. Because think about it, if your idea can stand up to smart criticism, it just becomes stronger. But this requires a huge shift in your mindset. You have to start prioritizing the search for truth over that ego-driven need we all have to just be right. So what happens when you put all these habits together? Well, a completely different picture of intelligence starts to emerge. It stops being about how much you know and starts being about how well you think. It's an active, ongoing process of building and refining the very architecture of your own mind.
Look, if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. Intelligence isn't a performance you put on for others. It's a process you run for yourself. Real, true confidence, that comes from humility, from knowing what you don't know, not from certainty. And in the end, the quality of your questions will always matter more than the speed of your answers.
And all of this leads us to one last thought to leave you with. In our search for knowledge and understanding, we spend so much time looking outward. But what if the biggest breakthroughs, the most important insights, actually come from turning inward? From improving the quality of that silent, constant conversation we're all having inside our own heads?